Welcome to the podcast. This show is about the Real Estate Network Training Society community, also known as Rents. We're a diverse group of investors and our members range from beginners to seasoned pros. Rents is the only charity real estate education company in Canada, and we're here to help you on your journey to financial freedom using real estate. My name is Sam Perrin. I'm the president of Rents, and I'll be your host today. I'm a full-time real estate investor who's retired as a police officer at the age of 30 to spend more time with my family. Now I help people create passive income through real estate. As you'll see from the many stories shared on this show, there's lots of roads that will take you to your goals. When you hear the diverse experiences of our guests, I bet that you'll find a path that mirrors your own, and this will inspire you to take the actions needed to build your wealth too. When you become financially free, you're better positioned to make the world a better place, and that's what we're all about. You can send any questions or suggestions for the show to info@rents.website. That's info@rents.website. Enjoy the show. So, welcome to the podcast, Mel.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Yeah, pleasure to have you. So, for those of you that haven't seen Mel at the Rents meetings, Mel is a longtime friend of mine, and we've been investing together for a few years now, almost 4.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years, something like that. Here in the Kamloops market, and over the course of that, it's been my pleasure to get to know you and your family a little bit, and it's been great getting to know. We actually had an interview like this once before, and I'll have to put a link to that in the show notes, because that was a really fascinating talk, and we touched on the the pulp and paper industry, and I'm sure we'll touch on that today a bit too. But why don't you start out just telling our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been in the forest industry all my career. I graduated UBC and started work with Weyerhaeuser back in '73. Had various managerial positions over the years. Woods manager over in Lumby for 12 years, back to Kamloops as a timberlands manager. I had a stint as special projects manager for a while, which was neat. I got to travel over to Europe and southeastern U.S. looking at different logging configurations and options, and ended up the last part of my career at the pulp mill as the fiber supply manager. And then Domtar bought it out from Weyerhaeuser. So it's just the last 3 years I worked for Domtar. And it was really interesting. I really like Weyerhaeuser. It was a great company to work for, and Domtar was even better. So enjoyed my career a great deal.
Wow, well that's great. It's not everybody loves their work. So can you tell us a bit about your family as well? So you retired. What year was that?
2010. I retired. Yeah, August 2010.
Oh, right on. So
after 36 years.
So 7 going on almost 8 years.
7 years. Yeah. Yep. 8 in the spring.
Yep. And retirement's going well.
Very well, yeah. Yeah, it actually took me a while to adjust. I enjoyed my job, and it took about a year. The adjustment was really more the mental part of it, because I missed the challenges of work and the engagement with people. So I struggled the first year a little bit, but since then, it's been awesome. I've got engaged in different things, volunteering, traveling, a little bit of real estate. I've been involved with Aussie Jurox REAG group in Vancouver for the last 5 years, I guess, and then Rents here in Kamloops in the last year. So so a variety of things. Golfing a little bit, cycling, hiking. Hey, it's great to be retired.
That's right. Yeah, and Mel, you're an avid cyclist. I remember the day I went out with you, and it was I think it was a 50 or 60 kilometer.
50 kilometers, I think we went that day. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I was bagged at the end of it.
You were bagged.
Young guys.
You were bagged, yeah. Well,
well, you had to go out the hill after.
If I can move that well, at your age, I'll be very happy for it. So.
Oh yeah.
So tell us a bit about your family.
We have 3 kids. Our son lives in Calgary. He's married with 2 children. The oldest grandson we have is 14, and granddaughter in Calgary is 9. And then in Kamloops, our daughter, she's the youngest of the 3. She has 2 kids as well, Lucas and Danica, and they're 11 and 9. And our middle son, Craig, is in Vancouver. He works for TELUS, but he's not married. He's kind of a traveler. He's in Germany right now, and on the way to Germany, he stopped in Iceland for 3 days just to experience Iceland. So he's been to Brazil, and he's been all over the place.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Yeah.
You know what? He reminds me a lot of Tim Ferriss, you know? Are you
familiar
with Tim Ferriss?
Yeah.
You know, the 4-Hour Work Week?
Yeah, right.
And because he recommends a book, what is it called? Vagabonding.
Yes.
And
yes.
Anyway, yeah, very, very interesting guy. Lots of great conversations.
Well, actually, Craig and I right now are looking at some timbered property. His idea of retirement will be he's got a place to retreat to. So actually, I went over to the Kootenays, to actually in the south in the Cosburton, and looked at 4 different properties 2 weeks ago. Nothing on them, just timber creek in them, and they're list.
Wow.
Craig wants to retire to a place that he can have a little cabin and be away from everything.
No.
So
that's awesome.
That's not a moneymaker. That's a dream.
Maybe not. I remember listening to a guy named Rudy Nelson at one of the conferences in Vancouver.
Right.
And one of his jobs before he started Landcore, that big that big
Rudy.
company is, and he was a realtor as well. But he would appraise timber. He could look at trees and be like, that one's $2,000. That one's. So did you guys do that when you went to this property?
No, it's not for the timber valley. It's been logged before in 1985, so it's grown up a fair bit. There's a little bit of mature timber along the creek side, which they couldn't log, and we wouldn't either. It's not why we want it. It's more a retreat that over time you could just go and have a cabin, whatever. But after reflecting on it, Burton's too far away. It's about a 4-hour drive from here, and from Vancouver where Craig is, it's 7 or 8 hour drive.
Wow.
So now we're looking up to North Thompson. We got 3 properties up there we're interested in. So.
Oh, is that ever cool?
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
So I'll probably give up a couple of my other properties in order to get this one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you've been happily married. How long have you and Heather been married?
44 years coming up.
44 years.
Yeah.
Any secrets for the rest of us?
Oh, say yes, dear, all the time.
Say yes, dear. Okay.
No, it's like I was saying about retirement. That was part of the adjustment, like being together 24 hours a day when you've been apart for all those years. As I've been working, She stayed at home most of the time, but she had a part-time job later on after the kids were in school.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first retired, she was still working 3 days a week. So she would tell me, if you're going to golf or something, do it on the days I'm home, so you won't be here.
No kidding. Just so you get
when
used
I'm
to
home,
each other.
So we get used to each other. But now everything's cool.
Wow.
We've been on quite a few vacations, and we still go to our own corners of the house to have our private time. Because both of us like time alone.
Right.
And whether I like going out in the woods and walking around and being alone.
Yeah.
And she just likes her time to read. She likes people, but there's a limit. It's kind of, you got to have that balance.
Yeah.
So that's part of it.
Well, and now remind me, Heather has some background in attachment. She would, because when we had first adopted our kids, we were having a rough time. And she gave some really good advice on how. Yeah,
she has a degree in psychology. Well, when we got married, I finished UBC. There's 5-year forestry program. She finished her 3rd year, but she quit. She didn't finish her degree. So later, when we were living in Lumbee, she was able to finish her degree through UBC Okanagan College. So she got a degree in psychology. She subsequently got a master's degree in counseling. So she had quite a bit of background in attachment theory. So when she really supports, she's talking about it all the time.
Yeah. I think she helped to turn us on, or she was one of many people maybe that suggested Newport, the guy's name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think he's out of Vancouver or something.
Yeah.
But leading in his field of.
Yeah, she points it out even among adults who are having relationship problems. It's an attachment issue.
Yeah. Or Neufeld, David.
David, that's right. Yeah.
David Neufeld?
No.
David?
I think that sounds right.
I don't know. Anyway, we're a bit off topic. So anyway, you've had an amazing life, 44 years married, 3 kids, 4 grandkids so far.
Yeah.
And now just having fun and...
That's right. Invest
in doing deals.
It's a great time of life, actually, as long as you got your health. And I guess that's what Heather and I talk about was we need to do what we want to do now while we're healthy and financially we're able to do it. So you never know when all of a sudden your health changes and you're unable to do something. So So we've traveled a fair bit into Europe. We were on an Alaska cruise this spring. We just got back from Hawaii. We're going to Nicaragua in January, volunteering for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. But just before we hit record, you had mentioned Nicaragua. So that's the organization, local guy in Kansas?
Yeah, Don Montgomery's name is, and his place in Nicaragua is called Monty's Beach Lodge.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a 2-week stay planned down there starting January 6th. We're flying down, and I'm going to volunteer help building homes and a medical center, and Heather's going to help particularly the ladies, the women, mums, learn English. Like they have English classes for the kids in school, but the moms need help with learning English, so she's going to work on that. So we just do it 4 hours a day, weekdays, and the rest of the time we have free to do whatever.
Nice.
But it's a fairly remote area, so. And the other thing, the neat thing they have is a turtle hatchery. So they harvest turtle eggs so that predators don't get them, and they protect them. Once the turtle hatches, you get to release them into the ocean again. So we're probably going to participate in that as well. So
that is very cool, and that's one of the things on my wife's bucket list.
Oh, is that right?
To watch sea turtles hatch. That's wow.
So looking forward to that.
Wow, very happy for you. Yeah, that sounds like a great trip.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think so. Yeah, it'll break up the winter a little bit too.
yeah, no kidding. Yeah, although you wouldn't know it's winter now.
I know.
We had one big dump of snow, and it's been.
Well, our timing in Hawaii was really good because you had a little bit of snow and cold while we were there.
Oh, okay.
So our daughter said, "Oh, it snowed 6 inches and mine is 10." I said, "Oh, really?" Time we got back, it was not bad.
Yeah. Not great for the ski hills, but I tell you, it's nice to have the above zero weather for extended period of time here in November. So
yeah, exactly.
So speaking of building homes in Nicaragua, you just went through a process here in Kamloops, building a house, or was it two?
No, it was one. We started out talking about two, but then the builder decided, since he hadn't done a joint venture before, he preferred just do one and see how it went. Yeah, which was fine with us. Was a new thing for us too. So
yeah, tell us about that deal.
Well, we actually came through rents networking. Connor Shelton said, "Hey, I've got a builder who's looking for investors." So I went and talked to Connor, and then we subsequently met with the builder and discussed the options, and he said, "Let's go ahead." So I decided to form a limited company to do that. Yeah. And it kind of evolved because initially my son Craig and I we got some other properties we've invested in Alberta. So I talked to him about it, and we were going to form a company, and I was going to include my wife for tax reasons, so the three of us. So we ended up calling the company MCH Development Limited, so MELCRAIGHETHER. Yeah. And then my wife said, "Well, what about the other two kids?" So I talked to my daughter here in town and explained sort of the possible deal, and she said, "Yeah." And I talked to my son in Calgary, and he said, "Yeah." So we ended up forming a company that has 5 shareholders. Yeah. Only 2 voting, Craig and I. Who control it. The other 3 are just investing. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, I have only 5% in the company. And, Heather has 5%, and the kids have the other 90%.
Wow, that's very cool.
But the way the company is structured, of course, you have to have shareholders loans to the company in order to get it started. So, we will be paying dividends to the shareholders based on their investment. So Craig invested the most, and then Rebecca and Stephen invested less, and we invested very little. So we won't get much of the profit, but that's okay. One of the objectives I had was to get my kids involved in real estate. Yeah. And doing it through the company, I think, should work well. So we've got some other options. We've got actually 11 share classes. So I could have other investors come into the company if I wanted to do bigger deals. So the way it's structured, I think, should work okay. Yeah, I think it affords some flexibility. Yeah. What happens in the future, I'm not sure. If the builder's interested in doing another project, I think we would definitely be interested, but he has to assess it from his side as well. Does it make sense? So,
what made you guys decide to go that direction to incorporate? Because this was a build. Was this this was your first? I mean, we were going to talk in a lot of detail about the build and all this stuff, and maybe legal structure when we have more time at the meeting. At the meeting, and you're going to share photos and stuff with us too. Yeah, I will. Because I saw the odd photo on Facebook. But
post them up. I guess one of the main drivers for me was getting the kids involved. My daughter's very, very conservative in terms of investing. Yeah. She's very focused on paying her mortgage down, which is great, and she's got the RESP for the kids and saving money and so on. But I think, there's other options too. So try this. So actually, I didn't put any cash into this deal, and my kids didn't put that much cash in. We used the line of credit primarily. Nice. So it's not tying up cash in that respect. Yeah. Other than the cash for forming the company and the legal bills and so on.
Yeah.
But, really very little cash into it at all. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. It was just kind of an experiment. If it works, it's great. If they want to carry on and do things themselves after I'm not involved, that's up to them.
It's great of you to get your kids involved in that way, make them shareholders, and they can watch and see how a build works. And
really, we didn't do much. The builder basically did everything. We're investors primarily. I wrote a few checks to pay a few bills and did a few e-transfers, but other than that, I did nothing physically with the build.
Yeah.
Signed some documents because the lot's in our company name, and then he built it. There's some issues around home warranty that we have to work through.
Okay.
As a builder, he's certified, so covers the home warranty. But of course, for the first 2 years, there's a warranty that he's responsible for parts and labor if anything goes wrong. Up to 5 years, the building envelope, if there's any water penetration, that's his responsibility.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's the joint venture's responsibility.
Right.
Because of the deal. But after 5 years, it's the insurance company that would pay for anything, and that is just structural issues between 5 and 10 years. So we have to leave some money in an account to cover any potential costs in the first 5 years. So that ties up some money.
Right. So you don't. Yeah. Well, I guess it is your money, so you would count it towards your return.
Yes. Right. But it's just not available for a little while.
Yeah.
But if you do more houses, you wouldn't up the amount you'd retain. Like you'd keep
I see.
It's almost like an insurance policy. The more houses, less risk. And to be careful on the lot you pick. Is there going to be, is it on fill? Is it on the lower side of the street? Was one of my concerns because structurally, if it shifted or something, it could be a big deal.
Right.
Especially in the first 5 years. So particular lot we bought is the upside of the street. It's the concern the builder had was rock because there's a few houses along that street that had some rock issues. So when they started digging in the basement, all of a sudden they hit a rock, and then all of a sudden your costs go up dramatically.
It's very expensive.
So, but I was counting on him to cover off that issue. So,
right. Yeah, to do the due diligence
and know the areas and so on. So we'll see. It's the first one. It hasn't sold yet. It's been on the market for 3 weeks, I guess now.
Yeah.
Connor was bragging about 6 days to sell the other one. So I can give him a hard time.
Sorry, that was two built at the same time.
No. Once he had done before with the same builder.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, it'll sell. I'm confident it'll sell.
You know, it's an appreciating market, right?
Well, totally. Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, the timing, he wasn't able to get the landscaping finished before the colder weather hit, so that makes it a little difficult.
Is it happening now, or you can't do it right now?
I haven't been up there last week. He may have done something now, but to put sod down and stuff now
doesn't make sense now.
No, it doesn't. So
yeah.
So, but in selling it, I think they would guarantee the landscaping will be done. That there would be a hole back.
Right. Yeah.
So it'll be fine. It's.
Oh yeah. No, I'm.
There's a little anxiety the first time you do a project like that.
Yeah. Well, and I haven't sold a ton of houses. Maybe two. Well, I bought a lot, but I've only sold. I think I've only sold one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the one. Oh no, two. No, it has been two. It has been two that I renovated. And yeah, it sucks to be on the selling side of a transaction. So I don't know how many houses you sold.
I'm waiting. Well, I sold 2 in Ontario, 2 condos, but
yeah.
Actually they went pretty good. I just dealt with a real estate agent out there, and he took care of everything with the lawyer and so on. But I don't know. You're kind of anxious.
I have empathy now for sellers.
Yes.
Now that I've gone through it a couple times in the last year and a half. So
it can be interesting. So.
But you know what? That's when having a good realtor is.
Well, that's
good,
right. Yeah. So. Yeah, for sure. So we'll see.
Yeah.
See
No, fascinating. I can't wait to dive deep into the nitty gritty of a build deal, and who knows? Maybe you'll have maybe you'll have it sold by then. We'll see.
Well, I hope so.
Mel, most investors have an aha moment in their lives when they realize the power of real estate investing. And so, can you walk us through the process that you went through when you realized that real estate investing was for you?
Actually, I'm a professional forester, and they sent out a brochure to all the foresters, I guess, that had a graph on that showed, of course, the having real estate and renting it, the appreciation going up and the mortgage going down as the renters paid off it, and then that widening gap over time really struck a chord with me. So then I started to look seriously at what are the options. And the first ones I did were really through a company in Vancouver that bought apartment buildings that were privately owned and then stratified them and sold them off. So, and I didn't do enough homework, obviously, because in hindsight I paid too much for those. The management company looked after it. It was a rental pool, so the management fees are like 3%, 3 and 4%. So that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But they were actually, the ones that I did buy were older buildings, and the maintenance costs started to go up quite a bit. And in Ontario, where these were, their rent control would limit how much you could increase the rent. So, in fact, they weren't great investments in hindsight, but got my feet wet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a, I guess, turnkey? Or...
Yeah, that's right.
Do you think, so you mentioned that they were probably overpriced. Do you think they were grossly overpriced? Or just...
Maybe, 5 to 10% over, I would say. Yeah. So that, and then the timing wasn't good because I bought them in 2005 and then 2008, things crashed.
Right.
And the recovery in Ontario has been very slow. So I got rid of the last one actually this spring.
Okay.
So I got out of that, so looking for other opportunities.
So yeah, I mean, I guess it depends what your intention is when you buy it, how long of a hold period you want.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
Do you remember when they were pitching you the deal or this opportunity? Did they say how long? Did they have were they saying how long you should hold it for? Or?
Yeah, they were saying like 20 years or whatever to hold them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't go wrong if you hold something for 20 years.
Well, no, eventually, but it depends on where you are in life. I'm 69 years old, so I'm saying, I think I want the money now. I don't want to wait till later. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know if anybody would guess you're 69 years old from looking at you, but yeah, it's true, yeah. And I mean, I guess that's the appeal of doing a build.
Totally, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So, what do you think's in your future for as far as real estate investing goes?
Well, I think I would do another build. I guess my concern right now is the changing rules coming in January.
Right.
Like, how's that going to impact the market, and what price range are you going to be in? Because the house we built is listed for $625, which is on the high side, I think, of the bulk of the market. So you look at the sales, and that's not the highest, obviously, but it makes me wonder. And the other concern is the lack of lots in Kamloops to buy at a reasonable price, because what we paid for that one last year are probably going to be 80 or 100 bucks, 100,000 more.
Wow.
This coming year, according to the developer. So that makes me a little concerned about if there's going to be margins on spec houses that people can afford.
Right,
you know? So you do downsize the size of the house, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'll have to work that through with the builder, see if he wants to do another one. If not, what's targeted. He's building actually 7 other houses.
Okay.
Or sequenced anyway, but some of the ones he's got are a much higher price. So he had expressed that concern about the higher end of the market being slower to move. So if you got a construction mortgage at 8%, it takes a nick out of the
every month.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So holding them too long is pretty costly.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, well, I had a similar situation with a renovation, and then we ended up holding it for a year. Yeah. And when I had it on the North Shore there, and it does. Right. It takes a big nick.
Yes, it does. It does. So that's, well, I guess there's a risk with the game, but
I mean, it's such a hot rental market right now. Do you guys have a contingency plan to maybe hold it, or not interested?
No, not interested in
Just
that.
too high end of a home, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. No, it is set up, I think, pretty well, because the basement is finished, and you could put a 1-bedroom suite in the basement, separate entrance. Yeah. That was part of the thinking with the builder. He does his houses that way.
Nice.
It's not zoned for that, but
nothing is there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I think that, people think about it, they could rent out the basement and help with the mortgage payment.
Yeah, for sure. Or even to students or whatever. Right?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Every house in campus is allowed to have 2 boarders.
Yeah.
That's in the bylaws. So
it depends who prospective buyers want that.
And I've seen so many people moving to Kamloops from Vancouver
Oh, I know.
Commuting. Yeah. They're commuting.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So they'll sell their 2-bedroom townhouse there, 3-bedroom townhouse there, and come here and buy your $700,000 house. And,
exactly.
And then drive the 4 hours.
Right.
To work. Yeah.
Or even take early retirement. It's what they can pull out of their real estate down there and come up here. So, no, I'm confident the market will be strong.
Oh yeah.
So it's just
what I'm seeing as far as the rental market goes, it's just crazy. I think we leased 12 places last month, and it was just like in 2 weeks, basically they were gone. So the rental market's hot, and we're very affordable. That report that just came out, so you guys won't have any trouble. Moving it. So
no. Yeah, lots of employment accounts I think coming up, and all the new teachers that came in. And
that's right. Yeah.
Who knows what else is going to develop here with the hospital expansion and lotteries, TRU.
I guess here's a good question. So, Mel, can you tell us, what are you afraid of, and how do you overcome those fears? I mean, you've had a good many years of probably self-talk and dealing with your emotions and all that stuff. Any wisdom you can impart to those of us who are still searching?
Well, I don't know. I was always a shy kid starting out, and I don't know. My expectations weren't all that high, and it was funny. I was going out with my wife at UBC, and her father said to her, well, he's a nice guy, but he's not going to turn out to be a millionaire or anything, which I'm not. But I guess just being authentic with people and honest with people, I think in being successful in business, personal rapport is really important. And I think that's like I feel good about my jobs that I've done, the managerial roles and the relationships I've had with the people, treating them fairly. And I had great bosses as well. So, if you don't have a good boss, life can be really tough. So I always tried to be a good boss and listen to people. You got to be firm but fair.
Yeah.
Treat everybody the same. So I think that's important in life and relationships. Like, hey, I'm at this age in life, you do the things you want to do, treat people well. And my wife and I both really enjoy volunteering. It's connecting with people and sharing with people that's really satisfying. And if you can help people out in any way, it makes you feel good. And I think it's good. Society needs that these days.
So volunteering is good for the soul, eh?
It is totally good for the soul, yeah. And just talking to people. On this trip to Hawaii, we talked to everybody. We met some really interesting people, had some fairly deep conversations with people about life, philosophy, and all kinds of stuff. And it's so much fun. It really is.
Isn't it interesting how you can have those kind of conversations with complete strangers,
A guy on the plane from Seattle to Vancouver, we're talking to a teacher. He belongs to Teachers America, and we're talking about issues about kids and bullying, and wow, it was totally amazing. And it was really neat to hear a young guy who had a good understanding of what life's all about and how you should be helping people. So that was really cool. As a matter of fact, he referred to a presentation on bullying from the superintendent of the Surrey School District, which my wife is going to connect to the school our grandkids go to, because there's some issues there about bullying. And so it's just funny how things can be connected when you open up to people and start talking. And wow. And resources, connections, rents, the whole networking thing. Key. It's not, it's the business part of it, but it's also the social part of it and connecting with people. So
yeah, it's a really, really valuable club, and I just love that it's, it's basically filled with people that you just love to spend time with. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So.
Yeah, local people are doing cool stuff in Camus. I mean, I had a really fun time getting to know some of the people just through doing this podcast, right? Yeah. So, because you don't often get time to. I mean, when's the last time you and I actually sat down for a coffee? I mean, it's been
a while ago. We had breakfast together a while ago. And before that, it was like months.
Months, yeah.
So, no, that's right.
Yeah, life gets so busy.
It does get busy for sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but a lot of people are thinking about getting into real estate, and they say, "Oh, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I should just, should I try this by myself, or should I go out there and network with other people?" What advice would you give to people who are asking themselves, "Hey, is this for me?"
Well, I think you got to network and connect with people that have done it to get some insight, I think. But probably to make your first deal and overcome the fear is the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
And, I guess you've just got to break it down into steps that you can identify and do and complete and show progress and get yourself ready to, have the resources in place, whether it's financing or the legal advice or a realtor, have all those people, connections that can support you, give you advice. So get the best advice you can, and then take the plunge.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting that what you just said about building, basically building your team.
Yeah.
You had mentioned earlier, just a little bit earlier, that there's rule changes coming out in January. Actually, Bernard is going to be speaking before you at the club, and he's going to be touching on that.
Awesome. Okay.
And it actually doesn't affect that large. Well, from my conversation with him, it doesn't affect that large of a subset of of the buyers that you think it would. I mean, it does, but anyway, he'll get into the details. But as far as my understanding goes, it's only those that had the 20% down. It'll be a little bit harder for them. It was so the rules haven't changed if they got
the less than 20%. Yeah.
But But I mean, you're very well read. You've probably seen all the news on it as well. Anyway, and all the different. I think we subscribe to a lot of the same newsletters.
Yes, right. Well, and the other issue had been the new tax changes that Bill Marno was proposing. And how it's going to impact private corporations were a little concerning.
Yeah, right after you set something up.
Oh, crap. That's not good.
Yeah, because I mean, my family, we just did a corporate restructure, right? Opened a 3-tiered company, and there's the family trust that owns everything else, right? And that was just a big waste of time and money, maybe depending if the changes go through. But I mean, I guess that's just life. Stuff happens, and you got to
that's right.
Figure out a way to adapt to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So. I mean, we talked a little bit on the last interview about the pulp and paper industry, but maybe you could comment on that a little bit. I mean, we've seen in the news that a big chunk of the Weyerhaeuser property was just sold to, I think, a company that down by the river. It was just bought by
that rail company?
Rail company,
Right.
Yeah, so that's interesting. What was that land before, and how come the pulp Dontar is not using it? Do you know? Or?
Well, it was never purchased by Dontar when they bought out from Weyerhaeuser. The sawmill was on that. The Weyerhaeuser sawmill. So no, the Weyerhaeuser just dismantled the sawmill and cleaned up the place, and then had it for sale for quite some time.
Oh, okay. So that sawmill, is it still there?
No,
right across from the trucking place, right? Or that's a different.
Oh, there's a chipper right there.
There's a chipper
whole
right
lot
there.
Chipper, yeah. Yeah, so that's replaced a bit of the chip supply from the sawmill.
Yeah.
So they're chipping, dead pine trees. They're doing a little hemlock. I think they're doing dry spruce now. The beetle that killed off the pine is mostly not suitable for pulp anymore even. So you couldn't take and chip it up because the fiber strength is gone. So that's not happening. I don't know. The pulp mill in Kamloops is going to be a challenge, I think, with the reduction in the allowable cuts because of the beetle and then the fire situation. So I haven't really talked to anybody at the pulp mill recently about the fiber supply. That would be the critical thing, I think. The pulp mill itself, I think, is doing reasonably well. They have a contract with BC Hydro for power production.
Yeah.
Which stabilizes part of the revenue, which is a good thing. But I don't know. I think it's certainly viable as long as there's a wood supply.
Yeah. Well, see, so there's a few new things that happened that you could comment on. I guess they had the huge storms. Our neighbors there down south had those huge storms. So does that create a really big demand for Canadian lumber?
It does.
The rebuilding.
Yeah, it does. But of course, the Coalition for Fair Lumber Imports in the States are lobbying against Canadian lumber, and their tariffs are around 22%, I think, now, because they say the logs are not priced market competitively in Canada. And it varies by province. Each province has its own way of dealing with the timber supply, so it's quite different across the Canadian landscape kind of thing, and it makes it difficult for the federal government to negotiate because each province has their own set of rules in terms of determining stumpage and how the timber's sold and so on. But in all the previous disputes with the U.S., the World Trade Organization ruled in favor of Canada. But the U.S. will keep it, the coalition will keep it in the courts and litigation and so on, and it just drives up the price of lumber that much more. So right now, the price of lumber in the States is such that the Canadian producers can tack on the duty and still make good money.
No kidding.
And especially with the storms in the U.S. where there's so many homes destroyed.
Yeah.
And the other issue for Canada, particularly BC, is with the beetle and all the fires, the supply of wood is so much lower, there's less being produced. So we used to be 33% of the U.S. market, and now I don't know if we could even make 30% because we just don't have the timber supply to do that anymore. You look at the number of mills that are shut down in BC. So I don't know. The Canadian government's going to take the U.S. on again over that issue, but it's just going to string out in the courts and so on for a long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, the lumber industry is really interesting. I didn't know really anything about it until we met and started talking about it, and then I started doing a little bit of research. So it'd be actually really neat to have you talk about like macro,
yeah,
you know, and then because every time I talk to you about it, I learn a little bit more. And even so, is there still a lot of raw logs being sent out of Canada?
Not really. In BC, there is a option to export logs from the coast.
Yeah.
But you have to go through. You have to put them on the market in BC and let people bid. If they can't compete with the price, then they can be exported. But it's a relatively limited volume, and in my opinion, it's blown way out of proportion.
Oh, okay.
In the political arena.
Right.
The real impact is not that much, and the price of those logs, if you're going to turn them into 2x4s in BC, doesn't warrant the price you can get overseas if they will use them for special products. So
right.
Unless we could create those products in Canada or BC, you're not going to be able to compete with the price anyway. So it's like a lot of things. The public perception is different than the reality. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, when you're working in the industry, you see the truth a lot closer.
Yeah. Right. It's like we used to have a big chip export market, and there was a organization called FiberCo, which is a group of sawmills that got together to export chips because there's more chips in the province than the pulp mills were consuming. But that's changed with the beetle issue and the reduced harvest, reduced milling.
Right.
So now there's no longer any exports. So you used to have to go through an export permit process and apply to the government, and then you'd have people review them if they needed the chips or not. All that's gone now, so that competition has gone away. Fascinating.
Because I was with the kids at the playground, talking to a guy who was they sold down at the coast and moved here, and bought a house here. But he's actually a tugboat operator. So,
really?
So he goes to work for whatever 6 days or 7 days, and then comes he's there for 2 weeks, back for a week.
Oh yeah.
So commuting like that basically. But he said that there are quite a few, because I was asking him, do you see a lot of raw logs?
Yeah.
He says, yeah, actually, there's probably not huge for volume as far as the entire industry goes, but he said there's quite a few logs that go out, and the guys that I talked to that are taking them to Hong Kong or China or wherever, he says that they take our raw logs and they're burying them in the seabed or something.
Really?
Yeah. To preserve them for
so the price goes up
because I guess I don't know, but this is what he said. There was tons and tons of loads, barges of raw logs going out. So I mean, who knows what the actual story is?
Well, that's true, yeah. And I must admit, since I retired, I haven't really followed what's going on in detail. Like you used to have connections and dealt with people on the coast, so you'd have a better feel. But I haven't really talked to anybody recently about what's happening. So.
Do you still get all the trade newsletters and stuff? Or?
No, when I got out of the industry, I got a...
Yeah. Same here for
for
my industry too, so...
something different now. I focus on something. People ask me, well, the only contact I have is my graduating class from forestry. We're planning another reunion next October, so just the classmates, but... I'm not part of the professional organization anymore. They're foresters. I'm not even a retired forester. I'm just not part of it.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you're so busy with...
there was no point. The biggest connection I have sort of is with my classmates.
Yeah.
We're one of the few classes of forestry at UBC that get together fairly regular every 3 to 5 years since we graduated in 1973. So, yeah. Wow. If somebody passes away, then we said we got to have a reunion because who knows?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the one next October. We're planned one again. So.
Oh, good. Where are they usually held?
Oh, I've been on the island. I've been in one of the guys. He's got a ranch in Pritis in Alberta, just south of Calgary. So we had it at his ranch one time. We actually did a repositioning cruise from Vancouver to Los Angeles. We got on, organized it and got on the cruise and spent 3 days down in San Diego. I've been to the island, Tofino, and where else? Oh, we're talking about Harrison or Summerland. This next one, we haven't decided yet. We're voting right now.
Oh, very cool. Well, it's that's something I really admire about you is how you, Mel, how you cultivate and maintain relationships.
It's fun to keep the connections for sure.
Yeah.
Go through life with these guys, so had some experiences you can relate to.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we're running out of time on the podcast here, but I'm really looking forward to listening to you share your story on the build and talk on other matters at the rent meeting there, and
should be good.
Yeah, exciting times. So, thanks for your time today, Mel.
Oh, thank you. It was fun.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
See you Thursday.
Before we close the show, I just want to say that all the activities Rents undertakes, including this podcast, benefits our bursary program. We've given thousands in bursaries to post-secondary students in real estate-related fields of study. And in that light, I'm asking that wherever you're listening to this, please comment and let us know what you think, good or bad. You're also invited to our next meeting for free. You'll learn something new from one of our speakers and even have a chance to pitch your deal. Do you need cash? Are you looking for property to buy? Share what you're missing with the group and watch your business grow. At recent meetings, there was over $1,500 in finder's fees handed out just for providing a name and a number to someone who is selling a property. There's always at least $1 million in the room looking for the right opportunity, so this is your chance to pitch your deal. You never know where you're going to meet your next joint venture partner. If you're new to real estate investment, we want to hear from you too. You have unique talents and experiences that we can all benefit from, so please come share. You'll have the opportunity to learn the business and meet other like-minded people looking to make the world a better place. Remember that everything you want is in the hands of others, so come learn how to serve them. Lastly, we ask that you leave us a 5-star review. This will help others who need unbiased real estate education find us. To join us in person or online, please email info@rents.website. That's info@rents.website. See you next time.